Let's go back to the floor, and I would like to invite now the youth delegate of Sweden.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Once again, my name is Noura Berrouba, and I'm the Swedish Youth Delegate, but in this forum I represent the National Council of Swedish Youth Organizations, LSU. I want to remind the Assembly on how participation is modeled. One, by ensuring that people can participate, looking at the resources that they need to participate, such as time, money, access to clean water, food, these kinds of things. Secondly, ensuring young people want to participate, meaning that we spark an interest in something, that they're passionate about something. And third, ensuring that information and invitations extended to other groups also reach them. And all of these three things have to work together. And I would actually also add a fourth one, representation and role models. Because obviously we can't really order these, but I think by having young people represented in forums like the UN General Assembly, we remove the perceived barriers that they experience. And I want to explain how my organization, the National Council of Swedish Youth Organizations, work with participation in international fora. We don't only send youth delegates to the General Assembly, we send them to the High-Level Political Forum for Sustainable Development. We have a youth delegate in our National Commission for UNESCO. We send youth delegates to the Conference of the Parties, the climate meetings. We send youth delegates to the EU, the Council of Europe, and the Nordic Council. So on every issue that young people are experiencing, we want young people to be participated in those forums. But in my remark, I also want to focus especially on the resources perspective. We speak a lot about how we can open up these processes, how we can make them more accessible, how more people can get into the processes. But we have to look at the resources perspective before anything else. And I want to focus on two different aspects, on quality education and decent employment. Education is a human right, a global catalyst for gender equality, health, peace, poverty eradication, and sustainable development. Still, 59 million children of primary school age are not in school, and over 250 million children and youth are not in the education system. And regarding employment, young people need the financial security, personal satisfaction, and sense of purpose that come from meaningful employment. Youth participation on a resource level is enabled by putting every child in school, every youth in education, and every young adult in decent employment. So my first question to the panel is, how can we leave no one behind in public decision-making when we continue to leave people behind as active and included participants of their society, excluded from education and the labor market? And on the topic of the Sustainable Development Goals, we often say that we need youth participation to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. This is very true. But we also need the Sustainable Development Goals to achieve youth participation. By ensuring no young person goes hungry or lives in poverty, by ensuring good health and well-being, by putting every youth in education and decent employment, by ensuring every young person has access to clean water and sanitation, by reducing income and gender inequalities, by taking steps to stop climate change, by ensuring peaceful, just, and strong institutions. Only through doing all of these things, we ensure that young people have access to these modes of participation. When young people's life situation is improved on the most fundamental of levels, their abilities and opportunities to meaningfully participate in their societies and feel ownership of the political and civic processes increases. We've so far approached this topic on a very top-down, in a very top-down way, looking at how we can improve the electoral systems, looking at e-democracy and similar things. This is of vast importance, but let's not forget the bottom-up approach as well, ensuring youth have access to basic rights and decent living conditions as a prerequisite for participation in their communities, decision-making, and otherwise. And when talking about how we improve the electoral system, also look at the barriers for these kinds of things, looking at access to electricity and ICTs in different parts of the world, and problematizing the way in which we talk about these issues, but because the access to these kinds of services is not equal. And to that end comes my last question. How do we enable a world where instead of hungering for food and clean water, youth can hunger for democracy? Thank you.
Thank you.